Hey guys, what is up? Unrested back, and today with maybe one of the weirdest videos I've ever made. Maybe one of the most confusing, and it's even confusing to me. I kind of want to run it past you guys to even hear your input on what you think about this situation. I received an email a while back, all the way during summer 2024, and it was from a lady named B.A. Smith or B. Smith. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce it. And honestly, the first email I got from this person, I thought it was a scam. Um, but I have this funny thing I do where I play along with scams just to annoy the scammer. You get those messages on your SMS that say things like, "Hey, it's Deanna. I'm at work. Are you?" And then I'm always like, "Yeah, I'm at work. Where are you?" Like, the boss is really angry. Like, I'll write stuff back and keep it going as long as I can until they finally like give up on the scam. So I wrote back and they were just like, "I have a very important message about a Japanese man trapped in Dubai who needs your help in your channel to get his message out there. Would you be willing to help?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course. Send me the details." Because I was just like, "Oh, this is like an interesting. I've never heard of this scam before. What's the scam?" So BA started sending me, or B started sending me a bunch of information, and there was no point where she was ever asking for anything. She explained right away that she's writing the messages for this man who, let me go ahead and give you the full name right now. Um, Tadatoshi. She calls him Mr. Tadatoshi, but his full name, let me read it here. I don't want to mispronounce anything. I don't want to get anything wrong about this information because she's provided me with like pretty much everything I've ever asked. And that's where I've kind of been like, okay, so this is definitely not a scam. This is really someone trying to ask me to use my channel to get a message out there. So, full name Tadatoshi Iwasawa. Okay. And according to B, Miss Smith, um, this man is like high level, upper echelon in, like, I guess, kind of like a Japanese bourgeoisie, or even connected to officials or government officials in Japan. And the reason she reached out to me was he's been trapped in Dubai for quite a few years. And when you say trapped, you're like, what do you mean? Like he's like in a box or something? Like, what's going? So apparently he went to Dubai. Um, Someone stole his passport, and he's contacted the Japanese consulate. He's contacted, Dubai officials and immigration, and tried to get his new passport sent to him. He's been given the runaround by both people. They haven't really helped him get out of Dubai, which I'm a little bit confused on this situation, but and like how officials would not help him, or why they would not help him. So I was like, okay, this is a little bit confusing to me. Um, what do you want me to do? And I thought for sure, I'm like, okay, this is where they give me a link for some kind of like weird religion to join, or they give me a link to where I donate money or something. But no, I've never been asked for any money. I've never been asked to join a group. They've simply always asked that I tell Mr. Tadatoshi's story online using my channel. They said Tadatoshi has a big message to send, that he wants to work with the Philippines, and then after the Philippines, he wants to work with Japan. And he feels like the best way to do that is to use channels that talk about Japan to communicate with people over there and spread his message as far as what his dire situation is. So, look, I'm not making a judgment call on this. I will say there's still things I don't get, I don't understand, and I blame part of that on me. Like, I'm probably not asking the right questions. I'm not an investigative journalist, okay? Like, an investigative journalist would know the right things to ask. I don't. I don't. I just merely said, all right. And she's been writing me for ages now. Like, I mean, it's been going since early 2024. It's always updates on his situation, what he's trying to do. And finally, I just said, like, what do you need from me? Like, why do you keep writing me about his situation? She's like, he knows that there's people who do YouTube, and that like legacy media is useless for getting a message out there. They just lie and twist stuff, which I would agree with Mr. Tadatoshi on that. And that YouTube is the new media, and if he wants to get his message out there, he just asked that, um, YouTubers who commentate on stuff about Japan, if they could just listen to his situation. So I said, okay, I'm listening. And she's like, what do you want to know? And I'm like, all right, first I asked if I could interview her. And she said, I'm not great at that. Like, I'm not a YouTube personality. And I was like, okay, is there anybody else I can interview? And she's like, well, nobody else speaks English. I'm pretty much like, I'm translating this and getting the word out there for the, English side of this. I'm kind of like the English go-between. And I was like, all right. And I was like, okay, can I send you questions? And she's like, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. So I said, all right, I'm going to send you a bunch of questions. I said, I'm still not saying I'm 100% behind everything you're doing. I don't know what all of this is. I'm still a little bit confused. I'll be honest with you. I'm not going to make a video that's like pro help Mr. Tadatoshi, or anti Tadatoshi. I'm objectively going to read the questions. I told her even today I'm going to name the video a disturbing message from a Japanese viewer, because I feel like his situation is a little bit disturbing. He's stuck in Dubai. No one will help him. All right. And I wanted to let my audience make a judgment call. And in fact, I would like to see my audience give me some kind of input on this too, as to what you think is going on here. Is there something I'm not seeing? And please believe me when I say I am open-minded to you saying, look, Scott, let me tell you what this situation is. Please enlighten me, okay? So let's just begin, okay? I sent her 10 questions. She answered them fully. She actually gave me quite a bit of information, links and everything. The only thing that is a little bit confusing is recently she started talking about like work Mr. Tadatoshi wants to do in the Philippines. And while that's great, I'm happy he wants to spread his message and work to the Philippines. I'm not really interested in that. My channel has nothing to do with the Philippines. I don't really have a lot of knowledge of the Philippines. Nothing against it, the country, the people. I've, had lots of Filipino friends here in Florida. There's lots of Filipino people, wonderful people. I had lots of Catholic friends who, when I went to Catholic school, who were Filipino. I don't have like a deep knowledge of the Philippines like I do about Japan from living there 15 plus years. That's all I'm trying to say, okay? So I'm not really going to get too deep. She sometimes starts to ramble about, he wants to do this and this for the Philippines. It's like, that's great. I just want to hear the Japan-based stuff. I also want to hear why he's still stuck in Dubai. So let's just get to it. I'm going to read my question that I sent, and then I'm going to read what her response is, okay? So my first question was, what was your purpose for first reaching out to me and my channel? Why did you choose my channel to begin with? I chose you because I believe this is the area where you can make a real impact. I learned after the Philippines, the next region to be focused on will be Japan. So she's saying like his next message is to reach out to Japan. And I think you are the perfect person for the job. The group mentioned that once the work in the Philippines is finished, they will turn their attention to Japan. I also know that in general, people in Japan will play an important role. Now, here's already my first bit of confusion. The group. So apparently Tadatoshi has a lot of people working with him to try and get stuff done in Dubai, to try and get stuff done in the Philippines. What this stuff is like exposing evil government officials. What is this group? I've never heard like a name. Maybe he doesn't want to give it a name. Maybe it's not a entity that he wants to like, this is our name. And maybe he doesn't want to do that to like not draw attention to people working in the shadows or, working within government, whistleblowers and stuff like that. So I get that. Maybe that's the situation. But again, she's never asked me to get involved in this and join some kind of group or anything like that. So she just wants me to tell what this guy is doing, and she wants me to be the go-between for Japan. And she said, she did tell me in the first email that she had reached out to many other Japanese-based YouTubers and stuff like that. So I'm not the only one she's reached out to. Maybe I'm the only one who responded. I don't know. If you're another person who makes videos about Japan, reach out to me. Let me know. What the mentor, and she calls this guy the mentor, the teacher. That's an honorary that's kind of common within Japan to call a person you work with sensei. I mean, my own wife gets called that at her job. So this isn't too odd for her to do this. I know it sounds cultish. It is not cultish. It's like more a direct translation, okay? What the mentor wants for the people to be, sorry, let me read this again. What the mentor wants is for the people to be the ones who judge. So I like this. I like the fact that she's saying she wants you guys to listen to the message and be the judges as to his situation. That's the way they've always approached giving me information. They're like, look, if you just put the information out there, that's all we're asking. Let your audience be the judge if they think this is like valid or, sounds conspiracy-esque. I'm not sure. Not the president, not the ministers, not the judges, not the police officers or experts, but people themselves. So she means like the common people, everyone watching YouTube and stuff like that. The victim, that's Mr. Tadatoshi, wants the public to judge the situation without bias and to forget that he is a victim from Japan. Oh, okay, so she doesn't even want him to be someone who's using his Japanese heritage, background, origin as one of the things we judge him on, okay, for sure. Instead, he wants them to see the victim as an individual facing a situation. And once again, whenever we say the word victim, we mean Tadatoshi, the man who is being written about and asked for help, okay? The people should decide, was everything the victim did correct? And if you're wondering why she's using the word the victim, I actually called him the victim, okay? Because at first, he didn't want to disclose his name. I think he wanted to build like trust. They wanted to build trust with me that I wouldn't just like, I guess, turn him in or like expose him for something. I don't know how I would even do that, but it wasn't until like quite a few emails down the line, like it was like probably almost 3 months down the line, that they're like, all right, Mr. Tadatoshi has given you his name. And I was like, all right, okay. But I always called him the victim. So when I was writing these questions, I called him the victim, all right? I wanted to be empathetic. I wanted to sound empathetic when asking these questions to keep a dialogue going. If you want to blame anybody for him being a victim, I called him the victim from the beginning. That's on me, okay? But whenever you hear this word victim, we're talking about Mr. Tadatoshi Iwasawa, all right? The people should decide, was everything the victim did correct? So did he handle his situation correctly? Or did the victim make some mistakes? Did the outcome happen because of the victim's actions? Or was it the perpetrator's fault? Which I guess he means like the Dubai government or the Japanese embassy, the people trying to get him his passport back to go back to Japan. Did the outcome happen because of the victim's action, or was it the perpetrator's fault? We read that. If the victim did everything right, how should the perpetrator be judged and punished according to the law? I don't know if we have any say on that, but I'm happy to read it. Number 2, who do you represent and what is his background? I understand you may have to hold back some identifying info, which is okay. Please explain why so to my viewers, so they understand the danger your friend might face. Okay, so this is before I knew Mr. Tadatoshi's name. I just, I said, if you want to continue to just call him, the victim or whatever, that's fine. I understand if he doesn't want to reveal his name. I just want to be able to have this question answered. All right, but right away she says, okay, his name's Mr. Tadatoshi Iwasawa. All right, so she comes right out and says it. We represent everything that our mentor, Mr. Tadatoshi, has been fighting for all his life, and we would like to play a role in his new adventure. Mr. Tadatoshi Iwasawa is a Japanese national, the victim, who has been living in the Middle East for over 2 decades. So he's been trapped there for 20 years, according to this, all right? He initially moved to the region with a mission to help stop the Iraq War at the time. Over the years, Mr. Iwasawa has been actively involved in a wide range of charitable works, government-to-government aid initiatives, and silent diplomacy. He has built a vast network of connections, including influential government officials, members of royal families, political leaders, multi-billionaires around the world. Mr. Iwasawa's family has a distinguished background, with royal lineage tracing back to the Tachibana Kuge clan of Shikoku, Japan. Sorry, I had so many words that I was reading there, I didn't pronounce it right. So let me read that one more time. He has a royal lineage tracing back to the Tachibana Kuge clan of Shikoku, Japan. This clan has a history that spans over 1,400 years, and the influence has played a significant role in Japan's historical and cultural heritage. Now, this may sound crazy to you, but this is actually very possible. Even my own wife, her lineage traces way far back to a clan, which I'm not going to mention because I don't want people doxing my wife. But my wife's family is like high up there as far as like financially secure and stuff is concerned, and her also like it traces very far back, and it is a clan that is like 1,000+ years old. So this isn't insane. All right, I know for us as Americans, like our history isn't very long in America. We don't have clans in America, and when they say clan, they mean like a shogunate clan, a samurai clan, a clan under a village ruled under a clan for a different area. This isn't totally insane or anything like that. I just want to get that out there. Like, I know some people might be like, what is a clan? Is it like a cult? No, it's not. It's historical. It's real. It exists. Okay. Additional details about the victim, including a deeper understanding of their struggles and the impact this issue has had on their lives, will be shared upon request. Okay, so I guess I can ask more. I should have asked more. Again, like I said, there's some parts of this I blame on myself for not writing not writing or asking the right questions, simply because I'm not an investigative journalist. Quite frankly, I would like your questions in the comments below to help me ask more about this situation so we all better understand it. Number 3, why is the victim you represent unable to escape his current situation? Okay, here we go. So why is he not able to leave Dubai? I'm just like, why? Like, this doesn't sound real. Like, I'm going to be honest with you. Like, I was just like, okay, so like if I was stuck in another country, it might take the American embassy ages to get me a new copy of my passport, but they would do something to try and get me out of there. Like, I'd bug them every day until they did. The group knows that Mr. Tadatoshi had the power to go after and destroy everyone who betrayed him, including the royal advisors and even government officials. However, the group had asked a similar question during the one-on-one meeting with Mr. Tadatoshi in Dubai. It was during this meeting that the group came to the understanding that Mr. Tadatoshi's true goal in life is to find the truth. So this kind of doesn't really answer the question. This is kind of sidestepping the question. Why isn't he going to leave? What's going on? Why is he stuck there? He wants to find the truth. So then he's not stuck there. He could leave any time, but his mission is to find the truth. I'm a bit confused on this. This is where I ask follow-up. I should ask follow-up questions. I haven't yet. This is like the first series of questions I've sent their way. According to Mr. Tadatoshi, the only way to reach the ultimate truth was to allow your opponents and even your own friends to continue deceiving and lying without interfering or warning. He believed that as long as you don't block the flow of water, it will eventually find its way, whether the outcome is good or bad. Mr. Tadatoshi felt that understanding the truth and the reasons behind others' actions was something he needed to experience for himself. This would allow him to find his own salvation from the obstacles he knew he was destined either to overcome or accept. And perhaps, if God allows it, there may come a time when Mr. Tadatoshi can change, but only if the people give him the power to do so. These are kind of like very vague, sort of like spiritual answers, which this kind of stuff always confuses me. Like, this is where I kind of get into like, okay, this is a very nebulous answer to what I've asked. Why can't he leave? He's on a spiritual journey. He's trying to become enlightened. Like, God's part of this now? Like, this is a spiritual journey? What are we talking about here? Mr. Tadatoshi desired to know the ultimate truth, and he allowed his friends, partners, and government officials enough time to pursue their own evil desires and lust for power, forming an organized syndicate. This syndicate had 2 parts. The first part focused on creating a complex strategy to legitimize their wrongdoing, while the second part involved the protective tactics of the syndicate, using various government resources to cover up their illegal activities. As a result, Mr. Tadatoshi became trapped, not only by the greed of his friends and partners, but also by the fear government officials had towards him. So I'm trying to disseminate this into a more layman's terms. I'm not the most complex figure. My mind isn't that vast and full of knowledge. I'm guessing he's saying like he gave them some sort of benefits, money, capital, whatever, to try and move things around to be able to help him out. And instead of helping him out, they just turned to evil things, like pocketed the money themselves, used it for their own gains, formed organizations that worked against him rather than for him. Okay, I mean, maybe, but who are these? What is this syndicate? I mean, I don't know about you, but I consider most governments to be evil syndicates, and they didn't need any help forming. They've slowly formed over the years and continue to work. I don't really trust government stuff that much. You guys know I'm not a big fan of the right or the left side of the government, so I somewhat empathize with this, but I'm also confused by, again, the vague language. Like, what are we talking about here? Now there's God, now there's a fight between good and evil, there's dark underground syndicates. I mean, what? Yeah, so you can see where, like, I'm beginning to be like, okay, what is going on here? What? But again, I should follow these up with more questions to get a deeper understanding. So I'm not going to completely blame Mr. Tadatoshi for being too vague with his answers. Maybe my questions were too vague as well, okay? So bear with me here. Number 4, how has or hasn't Japan helped the victim escape his current situation? Unfortunately, Mr. Tadatoshi was deceived by officials from the Japanese consulate in Dubai from the very beginning. Later, he discovered that the Japanese consulate in Dubai had been trying to benefit from both sides. They pretended to be good people, showing both Mr. Tadatoshi and Miss Mary Ann. This is the first time I'm hearing the word Mary Ann, as well as Mr. Tadatoshi's family. I don't know who Miss Mary Ann is. Okay, sorry. That's a little bit confusing to throw a new character into this story. That they were doing everything in their power to help them. However, behind the scenes, they were secretly leaking all the information they could gather from Mr. Tadatoshi's back to the perpetrators, which are the perpetrators the Dubai government holding him in Dubai? This allowed both perpetrators and the Japanese consulate in Dubai to gain the ultimate leverage over Mr. Tadatoshi. So I guess what she's saying here, or I should say the organization or the mentor Mr. Tadatoshi is trying to relate here, is that he did everything he could to try and leave Dubai. Like, he gave them the proper official papers and everything like that, proved who he was as a Japanese citizen. And instead of them going to get all the paperwork done to free him from his bad situation in in Dubai to get back to Japan, instead they just like took his information and were like, all right, we can profit off this information. He's a high class, upper level, diplomatic, rich dude from Japan who we can kind of squeeze for money. Not completely out of the realm of possibility, very possible. We've seen some horrible things happen in the past with people being betrayed by their own embassy. If you remember the one reporter, I believe he was from Kuwait, if I'm correct. Please, fix what I'm saying in the comments down below if I don't have it right. But there was a Kuwaiti reporter who came to America to report horrible things that were happening in the Middle East. And they told him he needed to renew his passport or some junk like that. And we're like, come on over to Kuwait. We just need to update some of your papers. He did, and they killed him there in the embassy. It might have been Kuwait. I could have the country wrong. So once again, fix my error in the comments below. But I'm sure you've heard this story before of that guy who went to the embassy, who was a reporter, and they pretty much had him killed. So there is such thing as embassies betraying people. I believe it, okay? Is this Mr. Tadatoshi's situation as well? Maybe. The thing is, the problem I'm running into here is it says the Japanese consulate in Dubai discovered who he was and pretended to be good people, but betrayed him. But how? What did they do? And this is where I guess once again I need to do follow-up questions. Number 5, what other organizations is the victim connected to that are trying to create a change in the world? What change are they trying to create? How has his connection to these organizations further hurt or helped the current situation? So this is where, I'd heard in the past that he has a group behind him. He has people working with him. What are these groups? I've never heard a name. Maybe they don't have a name. I've never heard an entity. I've never heard a project or agenda name. So what are we talking about here? I'm very confused. Mr. Tadatoshi is connected to royal families, government and power brokers around the world, but not always directly. He prefers to keep his identity private, so his representative handles most communication with governments and influential people. So I guess we're using a pseudonym for Mr. Tadatoshi. This isn't his real name. All right, fair enough. Speaking on behalf without letting other parties know about Mr. Tadatoshi is aware of the dangers posed by corrupt government officials, criminal organizations, and dishonest individuals who will go to any length to achieve their goals, even if it means twisting the truth or engaging in espionage to harm others. So again, like so he's got like loose ties to like high-level operators is what I've gathered from this. I guess there's not an actual entity or group behind him. It's just like how his connections work with other people who are in organizations or groups that were formed outside of, you know, his entity, his agenda, etc. They are their own things, and they have ties and connections that he's able to sometimes pull strings through, but not always working to his advantage, sometimes working against him. To protect those people Mr. Tadatoshi care about, and the core part of Mr. Tadatoshi's mission, Mr. Tadatoshi has created an ecosystem. Even if something were to happen to him, his efforts would continue. Okay, so I guess he's like fearing for his life. Like his life has been threatened multiple times, I guess. Many people act on his behalf, each using their own name, title, knowledge, and skills to carry out his goals. These individuals are dedicated to carrying out Mr. Tadatoshi's mission in the name of truth, justice, and reason, values that, according to Mr. Tadatoshi, God values above all things. So is he like saying he speaks for God? Is there a religion behind him? If there is, like now we're starting to get into the realm of like cultish behavior. I'm not accusing it of being a cult once again, all right, but that is kind of cult speak, that like, well, god would want you to act this way, like a little bit scary, a little bit brainwashy. Even more than money, power, or any creations of humanity, dating back to the very beginning of civilization. All right, that kind of, that guy that gets into like the mysticism, the occult, etc. Number 6, has anyone helped with the victim's current situation or the organizations he is connected to? Mr. Tadatoshi believes that both positive and negative actions are equally important. He sees them as inseparable, much like the relationship between good and evil in the world. In this view, you cannot truly understand what is good without also knowing what is evil. This is what he calls a symbiotic relationship. Okay, I mean, this is like a pretty common belief within Japan. They tend not to say like everything is good, everything is evil, yin and yang. There's more of like a gray area. I've talked to a lot of Japanese people who believe this. This is not completely in a realm of like insanity or anything like that. This is, a very common belief. I think even you, my Western audience, do for the most part understand how the world is more of a gray area and not always like super great or super bad. All right. To put it simply, just as both God and the devil exist in the spiritual realm, good and bad people coexist in the material world. Mr. Tadatoshi understands that throughout history, many royal advisors, government officials, business partners, friends, and acquaintances who wronged him did so for their own gain. However, their actions, driven by selfish motives, also revealed their true intentions and exposed the criminal activities behind their decisions. As a result, good people can now use these motives as a tool to identify and hold accountable anyone who has contributed either directly or indirectly to the perpetrators still sitting at the top of the corrupt financial food chain. This allows them to punish those responsible for maintaining the system of corruption. So again, we're getting into kind of like weird sort of vague language here where it's like, okay, wait, so the operators that are connected to Mr. Tadatoshi have also pulled strings to be able to call out and punish those that are doing evil within the world. Like, okay. So why can't they punish the people who won't let Mr. Tadatoshi get his passport and go back to Japan? I don't get it. All right. I mean, I don't know. Like, again, I need more questions answered. I have more questions as I read this. Okay. Number 7, have you reached out to other YouTube channels or other media representatives? If so, what has been some of the responses you have received? Mr. Tadatoshi has never directly reached out to anyone. However, the group includes many individuals from various sectors who are already involved in countering the perpetrators of espionage against Mr. Tadatoshi. If Mr. Tadatoshi were to pursue legal action, it could result in a lawsuit worth billions, even trillions of dollars, with top attorneys handling the case. So, okay. To clarify, Mr. Tadatoshi has not personally communicated with these organizations or individuals. However, his group has interacted with them, and many of these individuals are now considered as extended part of the main group. If these new members are included, the group could not potentially grow to several hundred million people. All right. So he doesn't directly communicate. I get that. I understand. Like she's told me from the beginning that he can't let a lot of information out about himself. So that's consistent. I'm still unsure if I've heard anything about Mr. Tadatoshi in any other media, or I've heard anything about this situation from any news article, other YouTuber, anything, etc. And it appears they don't want me to know other people who are handling different parts of this case, that they're all kind of kept separate and sent out to different media figures. I guess I'm the English one. Maybe there's more, maybe there's not. It's important to note that the leaders of these organizations are enthusiast groups who each have millions of followers and have not yet shared the level of information you are receiving here with their followers. Okay, so I'm like the first one to put a video out about this. However, as evidenced by a recent email from our branch of the group to Japan's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, MOFA, we have clearly stated that we are gradually upgrading our defensive measures to level 2 in response to the offensive actions of Mr. Tadatoshi's perpetrators. So now, more than ever, they're feeling like they need to activate the people they have who will speak out for Mr. Tadatoshi, which I guess means I'm doing what they want me to do. Am I being manipulated? This means that as the perpetrators continue their illegal actions, we may soon give the green light for many members of our group to begin sharing and releasing the truth to their followers worldwide. This could very well mark the final moment for perpetrators before they are judged and truly prosecuted by a real panel of judges, which consists of nearly 8 billion people on Earth, from various regions, countries, religions, backgrounds, age groups, and people from different financial statuses. Okay, so the judges are the world. So we're saying once this information is released, the world will be like, yo, this is messed up that Mr. Tadatoshi is stuck in this situation. What can we do to free him? First of all, let's hold the perpetrators accountable. Sounds idealistic, which is nice. It's nice to be idealistic. It's a positive spin. But idealistic and realistic tend to exist in two different realms. If you've ever, wished you could heal the world, which I'm sure we've all done as little kids, been like, I want to help the whole world. Why don't they feed those hungry people? I get it. I understand. I'm happy this is a positive movement. At the same time, I'm worried about the idealistic levels of this movement, as opposed to the realistic levels of the movement. Number 8, what is you... Oh, that's poorly worded, Scott. What is you and the victim's plans for the future, as well as the organizations connected to him? If he is able to return to Japan, has he considered moving to another country other than Japan? I'm not sure if continued involvement with Mr. Tadatoshi will make any significant impact on him or the group. But I want to stay committed until the very end. No matter how long it takes or how difficult it may be, I just want to be there to witness the light at the end of the tunnel. So she's just like, she's diehard, will take care of Tadatoshi, which is, it's cool. I respect loyalty to a friend. It sounds like this is someone she cares deeply about, and that's good. As for the question of whether Mr. Tadatoshi can return to Japan or if there will be any difficulties, that is something I cannot answer. However, both I and the group believe that the true answer lies in the 8 billion people on Earth. Mr. Tadatoshi deeply loves and values humanity, and he is now hoping to hear the verdict of the global population regarding both his own fate and the fate of the perpetrators. Ultimately, it is the people of the world who will decide. This is very grandiose, I will say. And again, this starts to get into sort of cultish level speech. Again, not saying it's cult, but this is kind of strange, sort of ethereal, religious level talk. According to those who know Mr. Tadatoshi very well, he does not favor any particular country. Instead, Mr. Tadatoshi views the entire world as his home. Okay, I mean, I guess that's everybody, right? He has always lived his life with the belief that whether his help is needed and as long as he is welcomed and loved by good people, he considers that place to be his home. Okay. All right. So has he resided himself to forever stay in Dubai? I don't know. Um, For Mr. Tadatoshi, the concept of a home goes beyond the borders and is rooted in the connection with people who share his values of justice and goodwill. Number 9. Don't worry, there's only 10 questions. We're almost done here. What are your biggest worries for the victim's current predicament? What risks does he face in the future? What obstacles do you or he fear in the future? I believe Mr. Tadatoshi's predicament is so complex that it can change shape or form at any time. As Mr. Tadatoshi often says, philosophy doesn't have just one answer. Okay, good point. It is many, depending on how different people view the same issue or when they analyze it. In other words, the answer to any question can vary based on the perspective and timing. Okay, fair retort. To put it simply, those who know Mr. Tadatoshi very well believe that his situation is not just his own, it is in part of a much bigger global issue. It involves not only different government entities and influential figures, but also ordinary people. As a result, the situation is constantly evolving, with the answer changing minute by minute and hour by hour, depending on how people react, including the reactions of the perpetrators involved. Okay, so she's more or less saying we can't really say because, everything is constantly changing. All right, fair enough. Like, I get it. Like, governments change. We're about to have a change in even presidency in America. So that is such a fluctuating aspect of this. She can't fully answer. Fair enough. I'll give them that. According to the group, there is no need to fear or worry as long as we stand on the right side of the law. The only ones who seem to be panicking right now are the perpetrators, as they risk losing everything they have accumulated over the years: money, power, and their reputation, if this exposure continues. Additionally, the group believes that Mr. Tadatoshi knows no fear. He holds the view that as long as your intentions are pure, you can turn any obstacle into an advantage. On the other hand, those who lie and deceive must face the opposite outcome. The perpetrator's current advantages will eventually become their obstacles, leading to their eventual destruction. Mr. Tadatoshi believes that the one who understands these principles best is God, the creator of all people. God, in his wisdom, knows the true nature of people, their issues, and the solutions needed to resolve them. Okay. I mean, again, same thoughts. Sounds a little bit too spiritual for me. That's fine if you believe in God. I'm not an atheist myself. But when I see God used in answers that are more like an objective statement, I always get a little skeptical, if that makes sense. Like, again, I have many viewers who are Christians and stuff like that. I have many atheists and non-atheists, believers, agnostics, people from all different religions from all around the world who watch my channel. I am cool with all of that. I myself have my own beliefs that mix between Christian and Shintoism. So I'm not judging anybody on their belief of God. But when I ask an objective question, when I want an objective truth, when I see God enter the answer, I start to get a little bit skeptical. I'm kind of like, what is God? Okay, God? All right, I just want to know, like, the actual clinical paperwork, the surgical deconstruction of how this is going to work. God is great. God is good. That's awesome. Can we leave God out of this for a second and just answer very objectively what's going to happen? What are the results? On behalf of the group, speaking for Mr. Tadatoshi and myself as a representative of the group, we deeply appreciate you, Mr. Ackerman. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to read the question. If possible, is there any message or request or mission you or preferably the victim would like to use this channel to signal boost to the audience watching? What can I and my audience do to help the current situation the victim is in or with the organization he is connected to? So, on behalf of the group, speaking for Mr. Tadatoshi and myself as a representative of the group, we deeply appreciate you, Mr. Ackerman, and your audience for taking the time to understand someone's humble struggle. As the group has often said, it is very difficult for Mr. Tadatoshi, the group, or myself to ask for anything meaningful from those who contributed to the downfall of the previous president or Philippines, especially from different sectors. Just as a side note, he wasn't a fan of the last president of the Philippines. I forget what his name is exactly, like Decor or something like that. He was like very anti-drug and had like tons of people killed, even innocent people killed who weren't actually drug dealers. So he went on about that for a couple of emails. I just kind of didn't respond because, again, I'm not a Philippines YouTuber, especially the different sectors, including ordinary people or commentators. This is because true power, as the group believes, comes from love and understanding, which act like medicine to heal sickness. Furthermore, according to the group, Mr. Tadatoshi often emphasizes that different people have different timings for taking significant action. Some may feel fear at the start, hesitant to speak or get involved, but when many ordinary people begin showing courage, that is when even those who were once afraid will rise up and elevate themselves to achieve their goals. This, in fact, was one of the most difficult questions I asked the group. The group reminded me of something Mr. Tadatoshi often says. Sometimes the simplest questions are the hardest to answer. Simplicity, while beautiful, is often fragile and can break easily if not approached with great love and gentle care. I mean, these are nice sentiments and stuff like that. I like the message. So the group simply advised me that Mr. Tadatoshi would likely want you to use your own judgment to unlock the potential of your audience. Your audience loves and respects you, and you feel the same about them, all right? The group feels that it is not in a position to dictate or advise how a leader such as yourself. Okay, guys, just to be clear, I don't see like I'm a leader of you guys. I enjoy you guys on a peer level. We are friends. You are my viewers. I am a creator, but I also, when we do like live streams, I see you as like equals and friends and peers and stuff. I don't really feel like I command a presence. Okay, just to be clear. The group feels that it is not in a position to dictate or advise how a leader such as yourself should contribute to this great cause. Just as a country relies on its general to make vital decisions in a war, the leadership you provide will shape the path forward. If more questions and clarification is needed, please let me know. Thank you, B. And okay, so like it ends pretty realistically. Like the final answer to my last question of like, what do you want me to tell everybody at the end here? Like final message, and just kind of like, do what you want with this information. It's not like I want you to contribute to this. We would like you to join us. Like it's just kind of like tell your audience this stuff and see how they handle it. So I like that. I like this sort of laissez-faire, hands-off, like here's what Mr. Tadatoshi says. If you give it to your audience, that's cool. Let them choose what they do with it. And I like that. I like that there's like no links for me to follow. There's no GoFundMe. There's no Kickstarter. There's no free Mr. Tadatoshi change.org signature thing. All right. It's just, hey, that's it. Thank you for reading this stuff. So that's more calming. That's more, I feel better about that. All right. And like, we do get into some sort of strange spiritual stuff in there where I'm kind of like asking an objective question and getting more of a spiritual answer, which that's the kind of stuff that I'm kind of like, but at the same time, this has always been the way they've communicated with me, that Miss Smith and Tadatoshi and his group members, whoever they may be, have always communicated with me. They're like, I'm not asking you to do anything. They've never asked me to make a video or anything either. They've never, but I said like, do you want me to make a video? Is that that's why you keep communicating with me? And they're like, yeah, if you're cool with that, that's fine. Go ahead. And so I was like, all right, but I need like to interview someone, or I need questions answered, and they're like, okay, we can do like questions. That's fine. And so I sent them that. They answered it within a week. They didn't like take their time. She said she had to go back to people within the group to help her answer some of them because she didn't know all the information. But they've always kind of been like happy to communicate with me, kind of happy with how I've handled everything. When I got hit by the hurricane, they sent me a message like, dude, we saw your house. Like, that sucks. We're really sorry to see that. There was one part where they started to talk to me about doing a new message. Like, it was like some new stuff about the Philippines. And I was like, hey, look, I don't have time to read this right now. I'm trying to rebuild my house. And they're like, oh, sorry. We don't want to bug you. We hope your house is going well, everything like that. And so that was more me just kind of getting aggravated because I was getting like too much emails and too much junk. Like, while I was trying to get everything rebuilt, I was probably in a very bad mood at that time. I probably shouldn't have responded like that. But they were very calm and nice. They weren't like, oh, well, fine. If you don't want to hear about it, screw off. Like, they were very nice. They've always been very pleasant. They've always answered pretty much everything I've ever asked. And so finally I was like, okay, what do I do with all this? Like, this is so weird and so out of place for what my channel normally does. Do they want me to make a video? If they do, I will, but they've got to answer some questions. And they did. They didn't hold back. They fully answered everything. I'm happy with that. I feel like if anything was messed up as far as the questions being answered, I should have asked more in-depth questions. But again, this is just, I'm just some guy who holds a mic and talks about thing. Okay, I'm no expert on anything really. Maybe art. Maybe art is the only thing I can say I have somewhat expertise on. But really, like, situations like this, definitely not. I want to get an objective answer from you guys, my viewers, my audience. Be frank with me. Cut it down to brass tacks. Be blunt. Does this sound crazy? Does this sound okay? What sounds crazy? What sounds okay? What is this? Please research it yourself, Mr. Tadatoshi. They have some links and stuff that they sent me in past emails. I'll put all them in a pinned comment and the information. I'll put as much information as I can out there down in the comments and the notes. I'll even copy and paste the entire email in the notes too, just so you can see what I read from, okay? I want your objective, and you can be as harsh as you want. You can be as real with me as you want. You can be, Scott, you are a complete idiot. Why are you reading this? Or you can say, some stuff sounds good, but I don't know about this and this, or wow, what can we do to help? All right, anything, okay? Any level of that, anything in between. I'm looking for you, the viewer, to respond, okay? Really, 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 please. If you religiously watch my channel, God, I don't want to use the word religiously now. If you've been with my channel for a very long time, and many of you have, most of the viewers I have been with me for like 10 to 15 years, which I'm flattered by. I love it. I'm exceptionally lucky. I want your feedback. I've never had anything like this come to me as a YouTube creator. My voice is dying out. I'm gonna have to end this video. I need to get hydrated and get to work, but I love you all. Love to hear your response. I'm very open-minded, even if it's, needs to attack me to tell me how I feel. If you feel like you need to attack me to tell me how you feel, that's okay too. Attack me, do it. Okay, be harsh with me. Don't hold back, all right? Let me know, okay? Love you. Talk to you again soon. Have a great rest of the day.